morning.
Good
It's a new
morning.
week.
You're awake.
Yeah. How is it? How was your weekend?
Good. I was heads down working on the next version release for the dev agent.
Yeah.
So maybe I should take 10 seconds to talk about this. So the dev agent, our last release, we got lots of people started using it, so we maxed out our account.
Yeah.
So we are trying to fix it. So a couple of things we are trying to do is that optimize so that it costs less. So we are switching from O3. There are some tasks we will still use thinking model, but most of the tasks going to be done by GPT-4.1, which is the 4.1 mini, which is reasonably cheap to execute.
Yeah. I mean, we had the
The launch
the
party too, right? Yeah. So that was
yeah. So if you check on our YouTube, for those that
yeah,
missed, you can
yeah.
watch
That
it.
was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun and interesting. And we saw a lot of people coming in to say, "Oh, we need this."
Yeah.
What weather are you in? Are you in spring or summer? Yes, in the US.
It's spring right now.
Yeah, because it started raining. We are entering rainy season. We have
Yeah,
rains.
it's raining for the last few days. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's
So
raining now too.
yeah, it's always crazy. Yeah, and the weather is a
Yeah,
bit cold, and we live in it's hot
yeah,
here. It's hot here in
yeah.
West Africa, so it's a bit cold now.
So one of my most cherished thing I do usually when I get up in the morning, I like to take a walk. We have a nice trail in here.
Oh wow.
That's sort of reset my plan my day. And whenever it rains, I cannot do that. I hate that. So anyway, all right, let's jump into the stories. So the first one I got is this is kind of interesting. All this AI news is happening. One of the big players is sort of missing in this whole discussion, which is Apple, right? And
Yeah.
I always wonder what they're cooking and why they are not into this. So anyway, today finally we have some Apple news. So Apple is trying to partner with Anthropic, the creator of Claude
Yeah.
AI, to sort of create a new vibe coding platform. So I don't do mobile app or iPhone apps. I know that lots of AI assistant coding stuff that we talk about, most of them are not available in Xcode. Xcode is what the platform that typically developers use to build
Yeah.
iPhone apps. So finally, Apple is trying to get their things together. So essentially, they're collaborating with Anthropic to kind of build this, sort of bring this AI assistant / vibe coding to their Xcode software sort of stack.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've been using this internally to sort of test with their developers, but hopefully someday they will release. This is kind of interesting because we do get questions from companies like, does your dev agent work with Xcode? So that's an area where lots of those developers are not using that we are so used to with VS Code. So that's kind of interesting that they're making some progress there.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing to see, especially from Apple. They've not really like, I mean, I
Yeah.
think they are with what's it called? The one they have for I think they have a name for it. The device they were selling years ago, that the home assistance device. I can't remember what it's called right now. My head and goes blank.
Oh, you mean the VR set or?
No, not the VR sets. The one that talks back at you. That,
Oh,
there's this.
long back.
Eh?
It's a long back, so sort of an advertisement. Anyway, I mean, yeah. So
I can't
they've been.
remember.
So I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I know they integrate with Siri. Is in the latest iPhone. I think default
Siri, yeah.
Siri is OpenAI sort of integrated by default. It's kind of amazing because obviously Apple has a huge distribution, right?
Yeah.
If they build an AI model and just default package with the iPhone, like billions of users gets that automatically. So
Yeah.
that's like a superpower. So
Yeah.
Anthropic is good. I mean, it's very interesting because I know, we talk about OpenAI a lot. Anthropic Claude is obviously considered one of the best sort of code generation model. It's just too
Yeah.
expensive for us. But they do have partnership with Cursor and Windsurf. like an enterprise level. So even though we don't talk about them day to day, I mean, as a company, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think they have focused on powering most of the underground technologies
Right,
quite.
right, exactly. Hmm.
And I think it's also interesting that Apple is going the partnership route. I think they also have a partnership with ChatGPT, with OpenAI. They have a
Oh yeah.
partnership with
Oh,
OpenAI in this
for the Siri, yes, they do.
area. So now they are partnering with Anthropic. I like the fact that they are going the partnership route. And it's also interesting because their biggest competitor should be, I mean, for iPhone is Samsung, and I've not heard anything from Samsung,
Yeah.
right? So I think the hardware guys are slowly getting into the game because,
Are you a
with,
Samsung user?
yeah, I am. I have my
Okay.
Samsung.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing yet on Samsung, even though recently I got a notification to, ChatGPT is now inbuilt on Samsung. So
Mm, mm.
we'll see.
So next story I got is another big company, Microsoft. So Microsoft CEO Satya recently reported that AI now writes around 30% of companies' code. So there was a Llama Con last week. I'm sure we're going to be getting lots of Llama use in the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
Uh, so in that sort of, they announced that he shared the stats like 20 to 30% of the Microsoft codes. I believe they're getting lots of benefit on the Python, not that much on C++. Um,
Yeah.
but they're making improvements. Similar news I heard from Google as well. Like around 30% of the company's code is now written by AI. So that's a staggering number. It's a huge number.
That's a huge number. Yeah. For
Yeah,
a
yeah,
company that big, it's a huge number. And
yeah.
for I think it's going to be for developers, I mean, you'll be fine. You all will be fine.
It is.
Just want to say that developers will be fine. I mean, yeah. So talking about going back to the previous story about Apple rolling out, partnering with Anthropic to build tools that can be used to build Xcode, integrate with Xcode and all that. So I have here, I don't know if you can see this. This is Meta AI app.
Mm,
So Meta launched this app, is built on top of Llama 4,
mm.
right? And then it's interesting because I installed it yesterday. I used it a few times between yesterday and today just to ask a few questions. It's interesting because they've had this Meta AI on WhatsApp, Instagram, and all their platforms. I think they also
Correct.
have it on Facebook, right? So, but they built this app, which is a standalone app. At first, I was like, you don't need to do that. We already have it. You don't bug us with an extra. Why would I need an extra app to use your AI? But I installed it. First thing that struck me is the design. We always had the, text bar, ask me anything kind of design, right?
Mm.
But then they have this interesting way they design it that it looks like as if it's voice focused,
Oh,
right?
so you talk to that. Yeah, you talk to
Yeah.
that.
But
Yeah.
for some reasons, I don't have voice on mine. I
Oh,
don't
really?
have I don't have voice on mine. I don't know why, right? But then it has been able to do specific tasks for me, simple tasks for me, daily tasks and all. And another interesting thing that happens there is that I see what my friends are doing on this app, what my Instagram friends are doing with this app on the
Mm.
app. So there's a little bit of social media influence
Mm.
in this. So
Mm.
if a friend, my
So what
friend
is
on,
this app called? Meta AI?
yeah, it's called Meta AI. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
called
Okay.
Meta
Cool.
AI. So I get to see what my Instagram friends are doing when they generate an image. I get to see it here. I can decide to comment on the image they
Mm.
generated. I can decide to like the image they generated. And it's interesting. I even get to see their prompts. I'm just going to, I'm seeing prompts. Someone, this guy used it for budgeting. And I'm even scared, like, okay, so I can't really say personal stuff here because I don't know who is seeing it and who's not seeing it. But then I
So
like
is
to,
there an API for developers to play with?
yeah, I think they have, they spent some time in the past building the Llama 4
Mm.
technology and
Mm.
also I think there's also an API, but they optimize more for language. I think we reported it a few weeks back about
Yeah.
the API for
So
language.
there's a Maverick. So Llama for Maverick is, I think, they're the biggest model they have.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest model they have. Yeah, so it's interesting. And then the device thing, AI integration with hardware is something that in and out. Some people say, oh yeah, we are there or we are
Yeah.
not. But I
Yeah.
mean, they've been, I think the Oculus, right? The Facebook or Meta Oculus, the device
Yeah.
that they had. So I think they are also integrating this with it. So you get to see and get to interact with this app. I don't know how that works because, of course, I don't have the device. But then you can connect your device to this app, and then I think you can ask questions and see it on your device, and you can also, take a picture with your device and then say
Yeah.
something about it using the app. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
an interesting phenomenon. I think it's an interesting thing. While it may not be totally developer focused, I think it's also something that's important. I mean, it's an interesting tool, and I like that it exists.
Yeah.
And also, you can, if you are planning to build an AI anything in the future, you might want
Okay.
to think of how to integrate with social
Okay.
media. Yeah, and have
So
your,
I'm going to go to the another part of the world here, the JetBrains. So JetBrains is popular, or is known for their ID called IntelliJ. IntelliJ is probably considered one of the best IDE for Java developers. And Java developers is still a big chunk of enterprise runs on Java, right? So it's a huge, huge community and a huge segment of the market. So now JetBrains been working on AI assistant coding. I was talking to one developer here recently. He mainly works on Java, and he likes using IntelliJ. So he was telling me how IntelliJ's ID is their assistant is even better than Cursor in some cases. And I feel like there's going to be a tremendous shift of this where models going to be specialized on particular language or stack, and we're going to see some of that stuff happening. So JetBrains is heavily focused on building specialized models because they have, I know they have a very strong user base in Java. Obviously, they're going to be focusing on them. But they recently released this model called Melam, if I'm saying it right. Let me share that URL with you guys. The interesting bit about this model is it's not the typical chat-based models that we are used to, right? You prompt it and it gives an answer. This is more optimized for auto-completions.
wow.
So it's a 4 trillion tokens model. A code completion trend on 4 trillion tokens, which is kind of impressive. But the model size is relatively small. It's like 4 billion parameters. So in theory, you should be able to run it locally. So this is sort of used for optimization for auto-completion and research. So for an example, if we end up deciding to build a front end for our dev agent, this would be an interesting model for us to kind of use for an auto-completion sort of task.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing to see. I mean, that kind of context window. I mean, context window keeps getting bigger and bigger by the day. I mean, I believe we'll get to a point where it won't even be an issue. It won't even be a topic anymore. We just have big context window and we don't even know about it.
Yeah. So I thought it's going to interest. I feel like we're gonna be seeing lots of news coming up from JetBrains.
Yeah. I mean, JetBrains has I knew them during the days of,
They've been
Net.
around. Oh yeah, they've been around for a while.
Yes, when I was in school, we used them
Mm-hmm.
in some Java programming.
Mm-hmm.
All those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see that they're playing in the field. Anyways, yeah. So Amazon, another big guys, who for some reason they've had this model for some time. I think they've been using it internally. They have maybe a few of it out. So they called it the Nova Premier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they said it's the most powerful foundational model, and it's available on Amazon Bedrock. And I keep asking, what's the difference between these models? I mean, everybody's saying they are the best foundational model out there. So what is the difference between these models? Well, they have a massive 1 million token context window, right? And then they work specifically on text, images, and video inputs, so they can take all these things. And I think another another interesting thing about them is that they integrate specifically with Amazon ecosystem. You know how the Amazon ecosystem is. So
Bedrock is their ecosystem. If you want to take a custom model and let's say you want to use Llama,
Yeah.
and you want to deploy in the cloud, AWS Bedrock could be one option to do that.
Yeah. So the
So
yeah.
yeah. So I'm looking through your notes. I see one interesting aspect that I think maybe we should talk about, since we sort of focus on a bit of technical crowd in here,
Yeah.
is model distillation. I mean, you probably hear this term a lot.
Yeah.
This is so apparently Nova has this teacher model. So obviously, like Precious said, it's a huge model, correct?
Yeah.
For practical purposes, it might not make sense for us to, or we don't even have resources to use run this big model. But when the model says that it has this thing called teacher mode, that means you can use this Nova Premier model to train and create smaller models out of it without putting additional human level data. So this process is essentially called sort of model distillation. So you create a large model with all this knowledge and use that as a stepping stone to create smaller model that you can specialize on specific task and use it.
Oh, okay.
So another way, if you as a
Means you can
developer
use
thinking of building a new
data
model, if you,
on the big model to train the smaller ones to do specific,
right,
but the data
right,
is the big model.
yeah. So
So,
this is whole thing called like so Nova becomes like a teacher model, and use that teacher model to create sort of a student model. So that's sort of the metaphor here.
oh,
That's what is known as model distillation. So when you're going through AI literature, most of you guys will hear this term model distillation. I was also confused about that. So that's
yeah.
what it essentially means.
Thank you for that breakdown because I was also looking at it. I didn't, I mean, I saw the teacher model, which made sense to me,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
distillation I was struggling a little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
before.
yeah. No, it's confusing a little bit.
So,
Um, so should we jump into the main story?
yeah, I think we should just talk about Duolingo a little bit before we get to the
Oh yeah,
next step.
yeah, no, yeah. Talk about this. That's exciting. Yeah, yeah. Please.
Yeah. So apparently, Duolingo is, I don't know, for those that know, it's a language company. Most people use it for those that are trying to learn English or learn Spanish or French. Most of us use it here when you want to move to a new country, use it to learn or write your IELTS. I have an English proficiency in Duolingo, right? Now, they have decided, I mean, they've gotten a lot of, people have been lashing on them. Why would you want to lay off workers and hire AI? So they're laying off a bunch of workers to hire AIs to help them do their work. Now, that wasn't the issue. So they said that it took them 12 years to create 100 Duolingo courses. And
Mhm.
in less than 6 months, they've been able to create 150 Duolingo courses using AI.
Mhm.
So they have decided that they are no more going to be an education company, that they're going to become an AI first company. Now, it's not just
No, they are they're still education company. AI first is their sort of thesis now for hiring, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
this started with I feel like I don't know, maybe it started with when there was a leaked document from Shopify that came out a couple of weeks back. People
yeah,
are calling that is an AI manifesto for companies,
yeah.
where the founder kind of explained that we're going to be we're going to be hiring AI first before hiring humans.
Humans.
So that's going to be like the stand. I feel like lots of companies going to follow Shopify, Duolingo approach now, because let's give AI agents, AI co-pilots an opportunity before, or make a stronger business case
Yeah,
that why would you want to hire a human to do that?
human. But okay, so what are these AI agents going to look like? I mean, off your head.
I mean,
So,
it's gonna change from problem to problem, right? They're gonna be for them. They probably have enough data set. They have trained models that do translations for them. These models are getting really, really good at translation too. So
so let's say you want to hire a model for Tubian, right?
yeah,
So what is going to be the criteria for you to select the model you're going to hire?
yeah. So a good thing is that we can build our own stuff, so that's gonna help a
Yeah,
little bit.
this stuff, yeah.
So I mean, we run on a very small budget. You know this very well. I
Yeah,
mean, wouldn't I like to hire 10 engineers? Yeah, I want to. But in our case, we don't have enough resources to do that. So in
yeah,
that case, we want to augment that with dev agents or biz dev agents. If I want to look, so this is going to be running experiment for next 3 months, right? As a freelancer, I want to find clients.
yeah.
Uh, I don't have enough time. So either I can set up a team, hire a person who's going to do sell my company out there, my consulting company, or
Mhm.
I can use Dubli and BizDev agent to do that for me. So that's good. That's the approach.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm
Because
saying this because of developers who may want to start building agents to sell to these companies.
yeah,
So how I'm just trying to think for them on how they are going to approach building these agents. Let's say I'm a junior developer, I can't get a job, then I build the agents and then I sell it to companies, right? Maybe
yeah,
that's how. So if I want to start
that
building
could be
agents,
market. Yeah,
go on how to think of the problems to
yeah.
solve for these companies and how to even sell the
That's,
agents and where to sell it. Oh yeah,
you know, it's, uh, it's impossible to predict future at this point, how fast things are moving. But we see a general trend of where instead of building a very general purpose agents and models, I think we are gradually going to see as very specialized vertical agents. So there are going to be agents that will be fine tuned to do, I mean, there's already are SEO for you. So
yeah,
that means one less consultant for you to hire, right?
yeah.
We want to do SEO. I mean, I'm going to get an agent AI company who sells AI agent for SEO to do my job rather than a human,
Oh, I see.
or a marketing AI agents, or manage my social media agent,
No.
or maybe get an agent that manages communities so that I don't need
Easy.
precious anymore. But no, community is such a people. It's a high touch experience. That's probably the last thing. But you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
What I
yeah,
want to say is that we want to be very careful about this. Let's assume these companies are really, really smart, which is true.
yeah.
Duolingo, Shopify is a cutting edge companies. They have enough data points to justify the strategy they're following right now, right?
Oh,
So this is they're setting up policies in motion that's going to affect their company for next 5 years. So obviously there are lots of thoughts and planning has went through that, and I sort of agree with them that this generic 30 to 40% of the work that some of us are still doing, maybe it's better off we give it to AI to do it so that we can focus on creative stuff. So one of my friend was saying this, which is kind of very, very interesting. You know how we've been trained to say 10% creativity, 90% execution,
yeah,
right? 90% building it.
yeah.
We almost have to flip that now, saying 90% creativity, 10% execution, because what AI agents are getting into is that they're taking the execution very well. Like Microsoft, 30% code is getting written.
Yeah,
So as a developer, then let's take a specific example. As developer, we used to spend 10% thinking about design and architecture and 90% cranking out that crap, right? Are we
yeah,
writing? Now AI is doing that. That means it's saving us time. What should we do with that time? Right?
yeah. Be
So I
more
think
creative.
we need to flip the script a little bit, saying how can I unlock my brain here to focus more on 90% of creativity? I think
Yeah,
that's the shift that we have to go through.
yeah.
All right.
No,
So main story. It's okay. I'll jump to the main story. It's already 24 minutes. I want to make sure we stay within. There's
yeah,
an interesting blog I found. I thought kind of interesting. It's right up where I think our community gonna like it. Which is where is the link in here? Maybe you can. Okay, I found the link. Let me drop the link here. This is a nice blog. It was a good one for me to kind of zoom out a little bit and say what's happening in that agentic AI. There are lots of open source frameworks out there right now. If you're coming in as a fresher, as a newbie, like saying, oh, everybody's talking about AI agent, I want to build an AI agent, where should I start? So this block takes a good look at objective look, I felt like, to compare 8 open source agentic frameworks. That includes CrewAI. I don't know half of them, to be honest with you. CrewAI I knew, AutoGen I knew, LangGraph, which is we use actively. Plus there are some new ones called Agno, SmolAgents, Mastra, Padentic AI, which looks very exciting, and Atomic Agents. So these are all the frameworks. So I kind of went through this objective look of uh, the core idea was that what plumbing this framework supply, because typically agentic AI sort of have like a 3 sort of responsibilities kind of act, right? You need to plan your task, you need to call a bunch of tools, and probably execute some code, right? That's sort of the structure of any typical agentic AI. So all the framework suppose that. Then it looks into what kind of plumbing do you provide. Is there any prompt engineering? Like CrewAI has lots of support for prompt engineering, right? If you want to get up and running very quickly, CrewAI is probably a really good choice because it's going to augment lots of stuff for you. So then it looks into another angle, which is the abstraction level. Where is abstraction level? For CrewAI, abstraction level is very high. Remember the demo we did? Like you put a bunch of stuff in the YAML file, don't even have to write a code. Everything is kind of sort of a plumbing.
Yeah.
And suddenly you have this multi-agent orchestration sort of app running, right? With supervisor and all that. Then there are abstraction level medium, which is Agno and LangGraph. LangGraph is what we use, which provides perfect balance. It provides a nice abstraction, but if you have to, you can deep dive a little bit and fix things up. And apparently there are some new ones now, which are very low level, SmolAgents, Padentic AI, and Atomic Agents that kind of provides you maximum control. If you're a type of developer who likes to use Linux and install dependencies and libraries, you're probably going to like that. I'm just kidding. So I thought a blog was very, very informative. So check that out. This would be a good step for anyone who wants to start building AI agents as a good starting point to kind of get a spectrum overview of what's happening in the marketplace right now and pick the one that makes sense. I personally had really bad experiences in CrewAI. It felt really nice to quickest way to start. But as I dig deep into, I felt like I don't have much control.
Yeah.
So we had to, in the middle of the biz dev agent development, we had to kind of switch the framework.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember you shared the experience in the community when it happened.
Yeah. But it was it's comparatively, it was nice to move out, but I definitely had some issues with that. Anyway, so based on what you want to do, low abstraction level, you want higher abstraction, medium, low, or more control, pick one of these frameworks. Because again, doesn't matter what you do right now. I mean, as a developer, knowing how to build AI agents is probably table stakes, right? You have to know this.
Yeah.
So check the blog out.
Yeah. Talking about learning how to build AI agents for developers. So a few weeks ago, I think it was in week 3. Meanwhile, this is week 9. Oh yeah, next week is going to be week 10. Wow, 10 weeks of doing this. So if you're in our community, there was, I think it was in week 3 or week 4, the London shared part of our story was a course released by Microsoft on how to build AI agents for developers. I've been going through that course for a week now. I've been going through it, and I think
nice.
Yes, nice. I started going through it.
Let me see if I can find the link. I'll drop it here.
Yeah, last week Sunday. Yeah. So I'm going to create a private channel on Discord. If you want to learn, you can just join me. We set up a time on our calendar, meet once in a week, talk about what you've learned. The learning materials is there, the projects are there, the videos are there. It's a GitHub repository. You just go in, learn what you want. So I'll make the announcement in the community, and for those that are interested, you can always join. It's going to be closed, so I mean, just leave it up open for like a day, and then I close it back, and yeah. So meet me there if you want to learn with me. So we have a question on the chat, and thank you, Sevon. Sevon, thank you for joining. So we have a question. It says, "What's your opinion on AGI, and are we close to it?"
Oh wow. So I shared the link. I'll answer the question. I'll share the link of that course that Precious was talking about. We covered in week 3. I always, there is a one I'm gonna give. It's impossible to answer this probably. Everybody gives time frame like 2 to 5 years. I sometimes always start with sort of thinking of saying, how do we know we don't already have it? Right, we might be here already. So what does that look like that will tell you, okay, this is AGI? I think the reason it's so hard to answer the question because that test case is not defined yet properly. It's not objective. Everybody has a different definition of what AGI means.
Yeah.
But once we get close to that, saying that, yeah, this feels like really an intelligence that can learn through this, then we will get it. But it's inevitable.
Yeah.
The amount of money and resources are going to this is just a matter of time. We're going to get it. It's just when.
Yeah. So I
Sorry,
think
I didn't give you proper answer because there is no proper answer. I think it depends on the definition of what people think AGI is. I think Sam does a better job. I think I've done his multiple interviews. I think he says AGI we're going to get in stages, right? If O3 is a PhD level expert, then a PhD level expert in math and science, then we're going to get AGI for this, AGI for that, going to be very specialized. There is another argument I have, which I think is more thought-provoking, which is fundamentally, if I feel like, and I could be completely wrong, if it's smarter than me or data scientists, please correct me. All we have to do is build a model that is really good at AI research. So think about it. Indulge me for a second. So if we can end up creating a better model that is a really good data scientist, all we have to do is build a great AI data scientist. Then that AI data scientist will start spinning out better research materials to create better AI models, and that will recursively create AGI for us. We don't have to do it. We don't have to solve every problem. If we can just solve building a better AI data scientist, that will eventually create an AGI.
okay, okay, okay. That
I mean,
was like
that's all about AI research, right?
that
We
was like
just one
giving the world
algorithm away. Yeah, we are just one algorithm away getting
away.
AGI. If we can build a model that can create that algorithm, we are done.
Yeah, I think I shared the interview where Sam Altman said that thing that we're going to have specialized agents. I just shared it in the chat. So if you look in the
Okay.
chat, you're going to see it. It was the interview where he talked his TEDx interview. TED
Okay.
Talk interview. Yes, I just shared
Yeah.
it in the comments. So just I agree with Nalanja, right? So I don't think we are going to wake up one day and say, "Oh, finally we've arrived at AGI."
Yeah.
For
We get
almost
conditioned. Mhm.
for 3 weeks now, or for 4 weeks now, and every week we share research paper. And I this week I saw one guy shared on Twitter about 7 or 8 research papers on AI, different concepts, different materials. It was an interesting read. I couldn't finish it. That's why I didn't even talk about it on the podcast, right? So it was a lot of interesting read. So if you start going into these papers, you start seeing that different people are coming up with different research, different concepts, different ideas on how AI should work, and we are having like specialized agents doing specialized things. And at some point, you're going to find out that we have AI for everything. And then, I mean, what's bigger than AGI? So I think maybe when we get to that point, we start seeing that, oh, okay, almost everything we want to do, there's AI for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me personally, I think he also said on the interview that if you get 40, if you get 10 open AI engineers and ask them what is AGI, you're going to get 15 different definitions.
Mm.
If you get 10 of them and ask them what's AGI, you're going to get 15 different definitions. That shows you that AGI can also mean personal things to personal people.
Mm.
So it may be that even the AGI we've answered here isn't even the AGI you have in your head. Yeah. So, but for me, specifically, for me, what I expect from AI is how I'm really interested in the Africa ecosystem, how AI goes, how we get to use AI in Africa. So in Africa, we really have, first of all, we are not data oriented people. So we do a lot of things based on vibes. We don't have a lot of data here. So if you ask someone, how many schools do we have in Nigeria? You really can't see that data somewhere. So you have to start digging up or something. You have, how many secondary schools do we have in Nigeria? Nobody has that data. If I have money, I would build like a data center or something for Africa. And it's the same thing for Ghana, the same thing for Namibia, the same thing for Mozambique. You go to different countries, you hardly see that. How many pipe, how many boreholes do we have? How many water systems do we have? We don't have those data because when nobody's collecting, nobody's keeping them. So I'm really interested in how is AI going to do in Africa? Like, how good is AI going to become for Africans in 5 to 7 years? Down to the language that we speak. Some of these languages are not documented, right? So that's why I'm really impressed with Meta and what they are doing with their language model, right? And Llama, because sometimes I go in there, I say something in my local language, and it's able to translate it to English, which is amazing because a huge part of the local language has been lost, and then it's not
Right.
even here because we are
Right.
not data-oriented people. So that for me, that is going to be AGI for me.
That's a good
AI,
point.
it's AGI.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right,
So
we
say,
wrap it up.
I hope that answers your question. That was an interesting one. By the way.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one.
All right, that's it. I guess that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you. We had
Cool.
about 7 to 10 people join us live. Thank you, everyone. For those watching later, I feel like we don't appreciate you a lot. One
Yeah.
of our videos have gotten up to 100 views or so. And that is really interesting because we don't really like push this thing, the way people
Yeah.
market podcasts and all those things. We
Yeah.
just record it, drop the information, and we leave it. So kudos to you. Thank you very much for listening later. We are going to I am really working on finding ways to put this on other platforms so that it will be easier for you to listen and not just on YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much for listening and then joining us. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a very nice week. And
Thanks,
then yeah,
guys. Bye.
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 Bye.